What's up, sports bettors? I have 5 player props for tonight on Underdog Fantasy. So you're going to notice I'm basically always playing 3 pick and 5 pick entries on Underdog Fantasy. Anything I give out on YouTube, anything I give out on Twitter. Obviously, I'm riding with you guys, and you can see I'm almost always playing 3 pick entries, but occasionally a 5 pick entry on Underdog Fantasy. And the reason for that is the implied odds, the implied price that you're getting on Underdog Fantasy is best for 3 pick and 5 pick entries. You're getting minus 122 implied juice as opposed to minus 137, which is the implied odds for a 2 pick entry. So what we're going to be going through in this video are just 5 picks that I really like for today. And again, I say this all the time too, but there's a lot of ways to slice the data. There's a lot of ways to find really good plays, right? So one example that I love to do is I like to just scan Underdog Fantasy versus Prize Picks and look for discrepancies. Because these are both fantasy sites that work in practically the exact same way, you can just compare lines between these two and look for line discrepancies. So one of the first ones you'll notice on Prize Picks is Timo Meyer. Right? His over-under for shots on goal is over-under 4 on Prize Picks. On Underdog Fantasy, it's over-under 4.5. And if you look at all the sports books, sure, they're slightly juiced towards the under 4.5 shots on goal, but definitely seems like there's some value to take the over 4 shots on goal on Prize Picks. Because again, if there's exactly 4 shots on goal for Timo Meyer, we're going to be pushing on Prize Picks, whereas everyone who places this bet on Underdog or the sports books would be losing. So we're always looking for value. You know, the entire point of Odds Jam is really just to take, the tens of thousands of odds on Prize Picks, Underdog Fantasy, and the millions of odds kind of across sports books and synchronize them together to make it easy for sharp bettors, profitable bettors to look for value. And here it's pretty clear, hey, this Timo guy, we can get over 4 shots on goal on Prize Picks. All the sports books and Underdog have his line at 4.5. Seems pretty good to get that extra half goal in value, right? So this is called a screen, and you can browse a ton of different markets, and it's definitely a good way, in my opinion, to look for value as a sharp bettor, right? Because you can easily scan the market and look for these bigger discrepancies. So here it's like Elias Peterson. Sure, Underdog and Prize Picks are both different than the sports books, but you can see they're at the same level, over under 3 shots on goal. And all of the sports books are heavily juiced towards the over 2.5 shots on goal. So there's probably not enough value to play the under 3, right? We're always looking for spots where Prize Picks and Underdog are different. So one of the others plays I went with is right here. So if I scroll down, you'll notice Jacob Chicharon. I have no idea who this guy is. Doesn't matter. I'm just following the data. And I ended up taking him over 3 shots on goal. This is one of my favorite plays for tonight on Underdog Fantasy. So as I always say, like any odds you want to browse, any league, so we have motorsports, UFC, soccer, World Cup, any markets you want to look at, any games you want to look at, it's free to browse odds on Odds Jam. And the entire point of Odds Jam, of starting Odds Jam, was to help sports bettors have their own Bloomberg terminal, right? Where can you browse odds across the entire market? What's so crazy about sports betting is all these sports books set lines independently, right? So you essentially have hundreds of different bookmakers, hundreds of different, counterparties, all trying to set lines on the exact same bet, which is Jacob Chicharon over under 3.5 or 3 shots on goal. Everyone is trying to price this exact same bet, but they're doing it independently. So you can see FanDuel has him over 3.5 shots on goal at minus 108. DraftKings is more aggressive on the under 3.5 shots on goal, so they're giving you plus 105 on the over, and they have the under more heavily juiced than FanDuel at minus 145. So we look at all this data in the market, and it becomes pretty clear that, hey, we're able to get on Underdog Fantasy this guy over 3 shots on goal. Right here on Underdog, right? You can see here, is minus 137. That's the implied odds for a 2-pick entry on Prize Picks or on Underdog. But again, we want to play at more advantageous odds, so we want to include this in a 3-pick or a 5-pick entry at minus 122. And you can kind of look across the market and it's all green flags, right? It's like, okay, we can see Prize Picks. They have this guy. His shot on goal line is half a goal higher, right? So if we take the over 3 shots on goal on Underdog Fantasy and he has exactly 3 shots on goal, we're pushing on Underdog Fantasy. On any sports book, we're losing, right? On Prize Picks, we're losing. If we take over 3.5 and he has 3 shots on goal, we're losing. But on Underdog, we're pushing, right? So we're using all this data in the market, treating every sportsbook as an independent data point of where the line should be set to hunt for value, and here are some things that make me really like it as well. So first of all, Prize Picks, which is their exact competitor, these platforms work the exact same way, is half a goal higher. So that's helpful. I also found this play on the Odds Jam screen. Another reason we like it is look at this. Bet Online and Bet99. Bet Online's a very sharp offshore sportsbook. They have the over 3.5 shots on goal as a pretty heavy favorite at minus 130. We're getting over 3 shots on goal on Underdog Fantasy at minus 122 implied odds. And Bet Online, a sharp offshore sportsbook, has over 3.5 shots on goal favored, right? So this is how you make money sports betting. This is how the sharps think. This is how the pros think, right? It's not about watching highlights of hockey players. That's not how you beat the sports books. These sports books have invested hundreds of millions of dollars into pricing lines, right? The way you beat them is you realize, hey, every sportsbook, they want to set lines independently because they all want to. That's why Underdog doesn't have their line the same place as Prize Picks. They all try to do it independently. So as a sharp bettor, what you want to do is say, okay, all these sportsbooks are independent data points of where the line should be set. So I just need to ruthlessly hunt through the market and look for value. I need to look for those rare few betting opportunities where I have an edge. And again, on Underdog Fantasy, out of the tens of thousands of odds kind of on their platform, most of these plays aren't good, right? They're not profitable enough to beat the vig, beat the implied juice that Underdog is charging. But occasionally, because you only need 3 picks for a 3-pick entry, you're able to find these incredible plays like Jacob Chychrun over 3 shots on goal, where they're half a goal off from the entire market, and some of the sharpest sports books have the over 3.5 goals favored. So we're not only getting better odds, we're getting half a goal better, right? We're taking him over 3 shots on goal at minus 122 implied odds. Bet Online has this minus 130 on over 3.5. So some sportsbooks have the under favored for over under 3.5. Definitely some disagreement, but it's pretty clear Underdog is giving us way too much value being able to get over 3 shots on goal. So again, it's free to browse odds, but what this EV tool will do for you, I use this tool to find plays on Underdog Fantasy a lot. I just search for Underdog Fantasy and Prize Picks. Is what this will do is pretty simple. It just shows you where is the value at minus 122 odds. So all it does is compare the line on Underdog to those on the sports books and point out the plays that have really high value. So we can see this one is on Prize Picks. It's also on Underdog Fantasy. So this is a video about Underdog Fantasy, so I included this on Underdog, but it also looks great in the Prize Picks 5 or 6 pick flex play. So the reason this is different than using the screen is the screen, right, it only compares lines that are set at the same level. So on the positive EV tool, we're not going to see Timo over 4 shots on goal as a positive EV bet. Even though this play is profitable and Prize Picks is half a goal off from the rest of the market, is what the EV tool does is it compares odds for lines set at the same level. So it's pointing out this Jeff Skinner play because we're getting him under 3.5 shots on goal at minus 122 implied odds on Underdog, minus 119 implied odds on Prize Picks in a 5-pick flex play or a 6-pick flex play. In all of the sports books, you'll notice Pinnacle, Bet Online, there's not much disagreement. They all have Jeff Skinner as roughly a minus 145, minus 146. They have the under juiced to minus 146. So we're picking up pretty great value on Underdog, being able to get minus 122. So this is another play I included, as well as this NBA play. So long story short, tons of bets open. You can see right here, I have a 5-pick entry. These 3 were found on the screen. These 2 were just from the EV page, the 2 we just showed, right? And then I also have some different combinations of this, which you can see right here. So these 3 I thought were the best. So this Jacob one from the screen, this Mark Stone one from the screen, and then this Denny play, is just the highest profit margin bet on the EV page. So you can sort by profit margin, and typically I recommend just taking the highest profit margin plays. It just makes sense. So hopefully this was helpful, and let's make some money, guys.